Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday, all. How
Hey
you
there,
doing
y'all.
tonight?
I am doing excellent. How are you, David, the producer?
I am doing awesome. Juliet Miranda.
Thank you very much.
So what's in your glass tonight?
Well, tonight for our virtual happy hour, I am drinking a little bit of Larceny bourbon. It's a wheater, and it's really light and very easy to drink, and I'm totally digging it.
Yeah, that's a go-to for us. That's an easy one, right?
It is. It's just slightly better than Maker's Mark or Jim Beam. It's just really nice to sip, and well, hey, you can drink a whole lot of it and be just fine.
I'm doing the Woodford Reserve. I'm doing the what is it, 120 what proof?
You're drinking the batch proof,
Oh,
and I'm currently getting an echo.
that's cool.
From. There you go.
There, stuff going on in the background.
So yeah, you're drinking the batch proof. It comes from Woodford Distillery. It's 123.6 proof.
It will kick your butt. You got to be careful
Certainly
with it.
will, yeah, but it's right out of the barrel. I mean, there's no truer way to drink bourbon than to drink the batch proof.
Right.
And that is delightful. It really is.
Really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So why don't we bring up our good friend Swami? Get him up here.
Absolutely. Swami is a regular here on our virtual happy hour.
What's up, buddy?
Yours.
Hey, happy Saturday, bud.
Happy Saturday to you. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing good. It was kind of a crazy day, but we're here. Here and always live on a Saturday night. We're digging doing these now that we're on our 6-1. It's just been a lot of fun, you know?
The best kept secret on YouTube.
Yeah. So what are you drinking?
I'm double fisting. I've got my beer as usual. I always got my black stouts here. And for bourbon, I'm drinking an MGP product. It's a Bullet Bourbon Cask Strength, 62%. Decent stuff. I wouldn't call it excellent or anything that's going to blow your mind, but for the price for a barrel proof bourbon, it's nice. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, we have a very exciting special guest tonight.
Indeed we do.
And we've known this guy for a little over 3 years now. He's an actor, producer, director, and soon-to-be author, which you didn't even know about yet, which you're going to learn about from him tonight. So
fantastic.
Let's bring up Ethan Marten. What do you say? Ethan.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to you. I'm drinking San Pellegrino, so
nice.
I'm just drinking in the experience.
Solid choice.
I love it.
Mr. Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm Mr. Hollywood. You with the hat, you look like Steven Spielberg. I'm in with Ray Charles. Juliet.
Well,
I'm happy to be here.
Ethan also has his own production company as well. And I call him Hollywood a little bit, but he's really not Hollywood. He started his own movie production company on the East Coast, which is very cool. Yeah. Ethan, tell us about the production company.
Light Age Films. I started it back near the end of 2010, right before we began production on the documentary I'm working on, White Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's getting real close, and I appreciate you sending the trailer to that. It's looking great.
Yeah, I saw you were doing some promotion for that on Earth Day. So what's it all about?
My four brothers, or the four brothers, me and my three older brothers, are traversing the Americas, seeking the indigenous wisdom from the original Americans, the indigenous people of the Americas. And we've spoken to the Lakota people, the Hopi, the Navajo, Zuni elders. It's time for wisdom keepers to be wisdom sharers. And they've been very generous and trusting. And we've been trying our darndest to take good care of what they've been sharing with us and spread that through this film, which we hope to have finished in the next 2-3 months.
I got to ask because, you know, doing a film now, and I know you've been working on it for a long time. A lot of it was based on travel and going to these different places.
1994.
Yeah, and it's crazy, you know, how long that this thing has been put together. And I can't even imagine the amount of footage that you had to go through to kind of cut it down to be, you know, what you, the final product, right? But
somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 hours.
That's insanity. Talk about a gigantic Tetris puzzle to put together, you know?
Kudos goes out to my longtime friend and editor, the poor brilliant editor I roped into this project a decade ago, Steve Strickland. He has been helping whittle this down to an actual watchable, beautiful film, as evidenced by the trailer.
Yeah, the trailer looks great, and
We're
you know,
proud.
just putting together all of again, getting all the editing done for all of this. What's it like trying to finish the film now that we're in this whole situation with COVID? That's got to be a
Yeah,
challenge.
you guys are in the home stretch. So what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the fascinating things is when we started the actual filming, the big phenomenon was the 2012 phenomenon. And we were shooting, you know, throughout 2011. And so we thought at the time the 2012 phenomenon was what was going to make the film more relevant. And it became apparent as, you know, we continued to film and meet people and be introduced to people by other people. We were never going to get finished by 2012.
Right.
And as we went along, we realized that as time wore on, that this film was becoming more and more relevant for this time. And I think that since there is a great environmental aspect to the film, and you can see the effects on the worldwide by humankind having to go into hiding, the animals get to come out. Right. And I don't know if you've noticed in your neck of the woods, but I've never heard the birds as loudly and clearly in the city as I have the last month.
Coyotes, especially around here.
Right.
Oh, yes. Coyotes walking the streets of Nevada. And I guess in your neck of the woods, too.
Yeah. It's crazy how things have changed in just a few short weeks, environmentally, socially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and another reason why we did this thing here is that we just felt like we had to get, you know, in and hang out with people because it's so hard just being here.
Maintaining those connections with people when you can't see people face to face and you can't get together.
I know. I don't have to worry about the water vapor and droplets that Swami's blowing from the vape because what was it, after 2 or 3 weeks of isolation in Venice, you could actually see to the bottom of the canals, which in my lifetime I've never known.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pretty incredible.
You mentioned, obviously, you're doing White Buffalo with your brothers, all your brothers. This isn't the first time, obviously, you worked with them. Do you want to talk about your experience with Ice of the Roshi?
Well, I mean, let's just start where it all began at the dinner table.
Right.
I mean, I idolized my brothers. Richard was the oldest, then Jonathan, Seth, and then I was the baby. I guess I still am. And, you know, at the dinner table, it was hysterical. It was like being at the table with the Marx brothers. My dad, obviously, was just one of the kids when we all got together, and it was always hysterical. I just wanted to be one of my brothers. And I remember turning to Seth one time, I must have been about 4 or 5. And I said, when will I be funny too? As if somebody flipped the switch, you got old enough, and then you were allowed to be funny too. And so through the years, Jonathan was always an actor. He knew he wanted to be an actor from the time he came out of the womb. Then Seth, who was also a playwright and a screenwriter, went into acting. And I followed suit. So there are 3 of us who are actors, and Richard, the attorney, is the biggest ham of all of us. So,
isn't it always the way?
Yeah. I mean, when chances are when one of us would get into a film, one or the other 2 would also be in a film. So
it's the hey, I know a guy theory.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, hey, we need somebody who looks like you, acts like you, could play your brother. Oh, I got just the person. There was one time all three of us were cast in a movie directed by Susan Rohr. I think she won 2 Emmys. It was with Malcolm Jamal Warner. It's called Mother's Day. And my brother Rick just happened to be hanging out. And when they found out he was our brother, they said, oh, well, we might as well have all 4 of you in the project.
They get a family discount.
Exactly.
So how does that translate into working together on a project? You know, I mean, you guys clearly have strong personalities. So how do you make it work?
We all have our own personalities. When you put us together, it's kind of like 4 batteries in a very strong flashlight. We enhance each other's performance. And it's kind of like the dinner table all over again, or the breakfast table. It becomes the Marx Brothers organized chaos. Usually, whether it's a drama or it's a comedy, it's always funny.
So you go from working with your brothers in different various projects. What was kind of the catalyst to say, okay, let's get us all together and make our own thing, which you did with Eyes of the Roshi?
I was producing Eyes of the Roshi, and you know, it was like, I know who'd be perfect for this role. Oh, I know who'd be perfect for this role. And I believe in nepotism. And if your own mishpacha, if your own family, you know, can play a role as well or better than anybody else, why on earth wouldn't you cast them?
Right.
Jonathan played Itchy, or was it? John was Marty.
Marty, yeah. And Seth was Itchy, right?
Seth was Itchy.
Right.
And it's so funny because when I'm reading the parts, I'm thinking, oh, this is like somewhere a cross between Ratso Rizzo and Martin Scorsese. Jonathan. And, you know, Itchy was just this tender but comedic but dramatic role for somebody who's an addict. And it was like, oh, Seth can nail that. And he'll bring both the drama and the comedy. And he and John are the ones who taught me how to act. So I knew what he was capable of, and I knew that he'd do that better than anybody else.
And speaking of nepotism,
Rick was on the set, so
we have your brother right here.
Speaking of nepotism,
yes.
Hey.
Hello there.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, Jonathan, do you have the YouTube channel in the background? You probably have to close that tab only because it'll echo. There you go. Perfect. Good to have you, Jonathan. Oh, I see he's clicking.
A little delay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
No worries.
It's good to have you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
That looks more like Martha Graham.
I think you still have the YouTube in the background, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, he just closed himself out. That's one way to do it.
Technology is a bitch.
John's a very good performer, but tech he has a little bit of difficulty with. I'm sure we'll get him back soon. Plus, there was our fifth brother on the set, Eric Roberts, who you know, basically ended up becoming the fifth Martin brother on the set.
So how does that work? Now, you brought up Eric Roberts, and I mean, he's an amazing actor. He's been in Pulp at Greenwich Village and Star 80 and dozens of other movies. What's it like working with him? You know, how do you handle having that kind of person on set? You know, he's just awesome.
Having that kind of person on set? First, it's please, will you come on set?
Begging, of course. Yeah.
Then when he's there, it's thank you for being here. We're talking about you, John.
No, we're talking about Eric. I've been watching.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when he was on set, he was gracious as a fellow actor. He's generous and kind. It was an amazing experience. John, how about you?
Am I next to you? What is this?
You got to look the other way.
I see. working opposite Eric is a dream. I mean, I'm a few years older than Eric, as I told you, David. And I've been doing this for 45 years as a professional, and I felt like I was in a master class working with him. He's a brilliant, brilliant actor. And like we all said, why aren't you directing, for God's sake? And he doesn't want to direct. He wants to act. And he's a master at the craft. So
he's Royal Shakespeare Academy trained.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's
A
incredible.
lot of people don't realize that because he embodies the roles that he plays. Star 80, another one. Great.
That's just a classic movie. I can't
I
tell you
know,
how many
I
times
know.
that we have just personally
Yeah.
watched Star 80. It's like it's just one
It's
of
a
those
perfect
iconic
movie,
movies,
yeah.
right?
Actually, it's because of John that I was able to get Eric.
Oh, that's right. You backed it off of me. I forgot about that.
What's
Why
the
don't you
story?
tell the story?
Go ahead, Ethan. Tell them how you stole our thunder, brought you up to market us, and you ended up stealing an actor for yourself.
Why- I can't exactly remember all the details. Why don't you start it out and then I'll jump in?
My wife and I had produced through our theater company an off-Broadway play called Euphoric Tendencies, which my wife wrote and I directed. She afterwards wrote the screenplay, which is brilliant.
What's it
So-
called?
Yeah, we were going to a party where there were going to be film people, and we're thinking, well, maybe we can get some investors or help getting this thing off the ground. And me, being the genius I am, I thought, let's get Ethan to come with us. He is the best marketing mind in the family.
I was pushing you hard that night, if you recall. To be
Yeah, once you heard Eric Roberts' name come out of that casting director's mouth, it was like, yeah, what was that film you guys were doing? Yeah.
Were you?
no, he's making humor. But go ahead.
Oh, so anyway, there was a casting director there who was a close friend of Eric's, and she was also a close friend of the host who had invited us and was trying to push our film. But she started talking about Eric, and Ethan's going, I've got Eyes of the Roshi. How much do you think we could get Eric for? And she told him. Wasn't true, but she told him. Cost a lot
Pretty
more.
close.
And the rest is history, right? And getting him on board.
Well, you got him on board, E.
Yeah, I mean, I stayed on top of her like white on rice. She was very cool, and yeah, she made it happen. I just I sent script and was very diligent, and then I made sure my brothers had wonderful parts opposite. So I'm sure I was John. I'm forgiven, aren't I?
Yeah. You gave us a good role, so I guess you were forgiven. Yeah.
I did something similar actually to Ethan, so I guess you could consider me the Ethan Marten of our relationship
Ooh.
because
Do tell.
Ethan had come to me with this movie Eyes of Roshi. He said, "I got this great new film. I'd love to, come on the podcast and talk about it." And I say, "Oh, okay, yeah, let me take a look at it." And watched it, and of course, it was great. And realized, I go, "Hey, is that Eric
Is that
Roberts?"
Eric Roberts?
And I go, "Ethan, if you could get Eric and you on the show, I think we can make this work."
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
and I was so surprised that you did that, Dave.
Yeah.
I didn't think. Listen, I didn't think the reason why we were on that first podcast was strictly because like us.
Of our infamous family.
Hey, we're going to get to your family in a moment, your mom and dad, because actually you have a very cool set of parents that we got to talk about.
Indeed.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was very gracious of one for you to reach out to Eric and see if he'd be interested in doing it, and then
Listen,
after the fact, him coming on.
I'm very proud of the film. It has a quirky joie de vivre, and I think could have a second life as a cult favorite in years to come. But let's face it, if Eric hadn't have been in it, people wouldn't have looked twice.
It's
And
Things like that matter. They do.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to take every advantage you can.
And
you know, I
Eric,
just thought of something, Ethan.
Yeah.
You realize all three of the Martin brothers appearing in that film got blown away in the film? You and I, you shot yourself in the head, you shot me in the head, and you shot Seth.
spoiler alert.
Well, now nobody needs to see it.
Yeah.
Now we know how it ends.
No, it's how it happens. That's the key.
Swami, I just want
It is
to
a fun
bring you into this. Juliet, Swami, Dave's original question when he talked to me about that was, Ethan, were you working out any pent up aggressions? I said, I did not write this.
That's awesome.
He had it.
Hey.
Oh, by the way, Juliet,
Yes.
I think you'll recognize this. When I knew we were going to do this podcast, I had David mail it to me. It's one of your old ratty flip flops.
Oh, wow.
At least there wasn't a
Well
snail
played. Well played.
That is such an inside joke. I love it.
One, because I don't think there's any way you're going to be able to find it in Virginia from where you are.
Don't underestimate me because I am an expert player of Fetch the Flip Flop. So I will find that sucker.
I feel like I've been missing fun here.
Yeah, it's a total inside joke.
Yeah,
Robert.
well, it's a story from my podcast. It's a game David and I play called Fetch the Flip Flop, where one of us will wrestle the flip flop off of the other and then throw it somewhere for the other to fetch. And it can't be just a normal place, you know.
Yeah, like in the middle of the street with traffic.
We'll
That kind
throw
of
it
stuff.
down wells. You know, I threw one of his flip flops over the side of a boat in the middle of the ocean. You threw mine into a herd of geese that nearly ripped my kneecaps open when I went to get it. It's just a little game that two, loving people play every
That's
so
right.
often.
Well, yeah. Cheers to that. And,
Although,
half of it's alcohol based, I'm sure.
although I really wonder if I have to call foul on putting it in the mail.
Yeah, the
That's
mail
not
was a
quite.
good one.
You know, I read the rules, and there was nothing against mailing flip flop and using secret agent techniques.
Yeah, and who wrote those rules? Uh-huh.
What I'm saying is there were no rules preventing it.
That's right. Exactly.
Just
Executive
wait.
producer,
Just wait.
What she always does to me is, are you really going to steal the flip flop of the talent? That's what she likes
Yes,
to say.
I am the talent.
When she starts calling herself the talent, I know that I got to cut back her alcohol
Keep
consumption.
the talent happy.
Have another glass of bourbon, sit back.
Oh, flip flops.
Yeah. So no, I got to hear that, and I know this story personally, but I think everyone that's watching, you got to share this. And by the way, I should stop for a second and acknowledge all the very cool people in the chat. We have Charles Ashworth here. We have Lottery of Life. We have Lindsay here.
Mike Meyer is here.
Mike Myers, not a great gamer. Jelly Duck, Anna, Bolton in Montreal. That's Swami right there. We have, I can't read that one. Is it Yanni? I think it's Yanni.
Yoni, that's me.
Yoni. Oh, that's
Yoni
you.
is Hebrew for Johnny.
See? Learn
Got
something
it.
new
I
every
see
day.
Gemma has also joined us.
Swami, how I love you, my
Yeah.
Swami.
I think it said Jelly Duck. We got all the rest of them. Lindsay. Matt Kiwi's here as well. And
Oh, Lindsay's there. Hi, Lindsay.
yeah, Lindsay's here. Gaming
Mary
with
Anastopoulos.
yeah.
Yeah, so
All
you're
bunch of great people.
skipping over Mary and Lisa because you couldn't say Nagnastopoulos.
No, not even going to try.
Mary's the one who was saying you were the funniest in the family the other day on Twitter. And she's never met any of us except you.
Well, he's representing.
She's
you
the
all.
funniest one she knows.
I
Right?
tell him everything he knows.
I see Jimmy C's here too, and
Oh,
a whole bunch of
good,
other
good.
people. Wendell Live. I just didn't want to leave anyone out.
Oh, please.
So,
There's Nancy Hutchison as well.
Nancy. Yeah, I see her on Twitter quite often. So that is great. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Absolutely.
If you have questions for Ethan or Jonathan, you feel free to put them in the chat. We can shout them out. But I want to hear next, and I was just getting this moment ago, that I've heard the story about your father and your mother and kind of what they've done in Hollywood. Well, one in Hollywood and the other one what your mom did. You got to tell the story because it is just such a cool story.
The story. Well, John, I'll start telling, and you're older, and you probably remember him even better than me. So why don't we gang gong this?
Okay, go for it.
To say, Mom is an author, wrote 20 novels, had them published in at least 10 different languages around the world. She had at one point been one of the top 10 writers in the country, having written for more than 16 radio soaps, digests, and confession magazines all at the same time. Dad had produced more than 150 Broadway plays and films, and he also was the innovator of the completion bond for the film industry. So that's an invention brought over from the real estate industry that no major film is made today without a completion bond, and that guarantees the completion of a film. John.
That's right. I forgot that part of the story. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. And
John,
did he own an insurance company? Is that why it made sense for him to do that? I mean, financially.
No, he was after World War II. He was helping to deliver films overseas. And he worked a lot in Italy. As a matter of fact, I think I might have been either conceived or
You were conceived in Italy.
In Italy. And who was my godmother at the time?
I can't remember. It was the wife of an Italian producer. When he was born, they sent over a costume of a very popular clown in Italy, a miniature version for the baby.
Franco e Paola Santi.
That's it. God, you're good. Better than me. And who wasn't told Mom she was pregnant?
Wasn't it Ida Lupino?
It was Ida Lupino. You guys know who Ida Lupino was?
No.
Ida Lupino was a very famous actress of the 1930s and 40s. She became the first woman film director in Hollywood. She was brilliant. And at the time, she was married to actor Martin Balsam. They were working on a film in Europe. And she was telling my mother how amazed she was because she watched my father in a meeting. And there were people, 5 different languages, and my father was the one going between them with all the languages. He knew he could speak all of them. He was amazing. Gift neither Ethan or I or Seth has. Ricky's better at it. But Ida Lupino looked at my mother and said, "You're pregnant." And she said, "No."
Wait, you're jumping the gun just a little bit.
What?
Well, we don't want to talk about the conception here.
Yeah, really. Family show.
Skip past the conception. We're in Italy. They're working on a film called Panic Button.
Yes.
Maurice Chevalier ended up with one of the roles, but I digress a little bit. Mickey Rooney was supposed to play one of the roles. Pop flew out to Hollywood to hand Mickey his check for about 50 grand. And he was in the agent's office, and Mickey's a little late for the meeting. So Pop's cooling his heels, and an hour passes. Where's Mickey? Oh, he just called. He'll be right in. Traffic's a bear out there. An hour passes. Where's Mickey? Where's Mickey? Mickey's at the crack, Al. I'm sorry. So Pop brokenhearted because Mickey Rooney was one of his heroes during the Depression. And he was looking forward to working with Mickey Rooney, I guess the way we were looking forward to working with Eric Roberts.
Right.
And, Pop tears the check, hands it to the agent, and says, "Tell him I'm sorry."
Yep.
Flash forward about 30 years, there's a headline in the newspaper. we had just built a movie studio in Suffolk. When we built it, it was 10,000 square feet and the largest on the East Coast.
Mhm.
It's the headline of the local paper. And Jonathan gets a phone call.
I got a phone call from who?
John got a phone call from Mickey Rooney.
Oh, wow.
He's like, I did.
How the hell do you forget this?
I don't know.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Because I was stuck on the fact that I was able to bring David Ogden Stiers to the opening. So, you know, it was.
Mickey tells Jonathan, your dad was the only guy in those days who would say no to me. And he was doing something. He was Sugar Babies.
On Broadway, yeah.
But they were touring it in town. Who was the female?
Ann Miller.
Ann Miller. They were touring Sugar Babies, and he just happened to read the headline, and he recognized Pop, his name, somehow got a hold of Jonathan because he was teaching acting classes in town. And he just said, tell your father thank you. That was the start of my getting my back together again.
Wow.
And started the studio. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. It was nice full circle. Anyway, what was the original question?
Well, we know that your dad is famous for a specific movie.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Land 9 from Outer Space.
Yes.
John, you got to fill in some details.
Okay. These are family lore, these stories. My father had hepatitis. He was out of work for, I don't know, 6 months or more, a year. Yeah. And first of all, one of his clients at the time was Zippy the Chimp. And
well, remember,
Zippy the Chimp, very famous chimpanzee. When my father, his first day back to work, he walks into his office and there's Zippy sitting behind his desk, smoking a cigar with roller skates on. My father comes in and Zippy gets down and starts roller skating around the office. My father never got over his love for chimpanzees.
I'm sure.
No,
he was upstairs. One of
You
the
only hear that as a Hollywood story.
Exactly. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course. Except it was New York. So
all these colorful characters were always coming into Pop's office, and you never knew if it was the casting agency playing a joke on him, or if it was serious. But one of these days, kind of a little roly-poly guy comes from his office. It's a theater owner out of Atlanta.
He's carrying 2 film canisters under his arms.
And he'd had $40,000, big money in the 1950s.
Right.
His life savings invested in this crazy film directed by this crazy director, Ed Wood.
Right.
Ever heard of him?
Yeah.
And he says, Al, if you can get my 40 out of this, the rest is yours. I just need to be made whole. So, John?
So my father called 2 friends at Allied Artists, set up a screening. And my father hadn't seen the film.
It starred Bela Lugosi. Another
Bela
one.
Lugosi's last film, but Lugosi had died during the filming. So the little roly-poly guy was subbed in with a mat, always carrying his cape over his face.
And you have to understand, Pop hadn't screened the film because he figured, well, it's got Bela Lugosi in it. It can't be that.
Gotta be fine.
And actually, I don't think he died yet. I think he had been placed in the sanatorium during the film.
Oh, jeez.
And well, as the film is playing, my father's sitting in front of the 2 guys from Allied Artists, and he's doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Sinking down in his chair, going, oh, Lord, my career is over. I'm done.
You can see the fishing wire holding the pie tins, which are saucers, and the shadows. And I guess shortly before Pop slides totally out of the chair into the floor, the lights come up, and all you can hear is that flap, 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 flap of the last canister. and he's trying to think of how he's going to apologize to these guys out of DCA, and before he can, get the Batesum to make his apologies, the one guy says, "I like it." He turns to his friend, "Herb, what do you think?"
I like it too.
"Al, how much you want for it?"
What did he say? 66,000, something like that. It was
Somewhere between 66 and 75. But that's why Plan 9 from Outer Space, originally Grave Robbers from Outer Space, is now
saw the light of the day.
available for you to enjoy.
Although I don't think it's any longer the worst movie ever made. I think they've superseded it with something else.
Yeah, it's actually been taken over by The Room.
Oh, was The Room considered
the worst
Worst.
movie
the worst
ever
movie?
made.
Nah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can see that. I could see that.
Is The Room the one with the girl that gets kidnapped and she has her kid in the room there?
No.
No, I'm talking about the Tommy Wiseau movie. I think it's called The Room. I might be out of it is.
It's called The Room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
It
don't
is.
count.
It's classic. You have to see it.
Is The Room the one that they made a movie about the making of the movie?
Yeah, that's called something else.
No, but it's got
Seth Rogen.
no, it's got James Franco.
James Franco and Seth. Yeah, Rogen. They're both in. Yeah. They remade what the making of that movie.
Yes.
It's kind of weird.
It's
really
a weird concept,
it's
but
very
it makes
meta.
sense when you watch it.
That, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Painful, but brilliant.
Yes, it is.
Along those lines, watch a documentary called Sherman's March,
Sure, it's smart.
which is the movie our other brother Seth says you always have to see when we discuss White Buffalo.
And why is that?
It's a great film, but this guy, I guess the short synopsis is this guy is always talking about how he's going to document Sherman's March. And he goes to make the movie about Sherman's March.
Mhm.
But he never gets anywhere near making Sherman's March. He always gets derailed, and he's showing how he's, making his first girlfriend, and he talks to librarians. It has nothing
To do with Sherman's
Very-
March.
He's making a real film, but it's just this painful thing that has nothing to do with the subject that he's trying to make the movie about.
Just the process of the process.
Right, process of the process. Exactly. It's way behind the scenes. So you said that White Buffaloes, is it coming out in distribution in 2 months, or that you'll just be done with it and then you're going to be looking for distribution after the fact?
Richard has distribution out of Canada already.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of when we'll be finished, we'll have as close to the last cut before a finished cut, somewhere beyond the rough cut, but not quite a finished cut. And that'll be near the end of this month. So sometime in the next 1 to 3 months, I think we have a very polished, finished project.
Very cool.
Wow, congratulations.
You got to be excited. I mean, it's been since the 90s that this has been at play. I mean, that's talking about
25
labor of love.
years.
Yeah.
1994. That was the birth of Miracle, the White Buffalo.
God.
Wow.
John, when did you first hear about the project?
Ricky told me about it when he started writing it in 95. And he told me about it, and it sounded really cool. I'm like, wow, can you get the financing together? Yeah, I think I can get the financing together. We started in what year?
Actual shooting?
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah, so only, 16 years.
Well, it's
Sure, I have the
not
money.
easy.
At $10 a month, I have the money, but
you
we'll get
mow
there.
a lot of lawns.
I actually started a Kickstarter campaign for our first trip.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, nice.
Hey, you know what? When you do stuff on a shoestring, man, you do what you got to do. And I've seen especially, Ethan, I got to witness kind of the whole Eyes of the Roshi marketing things that he was doing. And man, just the creativity to be able to get something out there like that, and what you have to go through, and the people that you beat during it, and the support you get, and trying to build up that groundswell.
It just doesn't.
Nobody does it better than Ethan.
Done with the movie,
that's where things begin.
Yeah.
You saw, I had to steal your flip flops. I can't even afford shoelaces.
And look what that got you.
Yeah.
And I can't even find them in this room anymore. They're gone.
Yeah. So I know this thing isn't, obviously it's not out yet, and you're probably not even thinking about what's next, but do you have something in mind?
For the movie itself, or
after White Buffalo is
about the book?
Yeah, we got to get to your book yet, which is, it's
I'm not even going to tell you the title of the book. It's something beyond self-help. Think of it as a collection of social and spiritual activities with healing practices in between two book covers.
Wow.
The reason I don't give the title out before we publish is because the last great idea from the book that I teased out there, somebody actually took the idea, incorporated it, and made their foundation. Then sent us me and my co-author Pamela Bro. They sent us a cease and desist on the page that we started, where they got the idea, and it told us we couldn't use it. So, but anyway,
that's insanity.
So, how did you pivot from that?
Well, we keep writing, and we just don't talk about too much what we're running. But I'll give you one cute story from it.
Sure. Which
has to do with making choices. We talk about, making choices in the book. And that, you can, here, John will recognize the story at some point. When I was a kid, I was possibly a little anemic. My dad, who grew up in Hell's Kitchen in Coney Island, definitely thought I was anemic. So he instructed my 3 older brothers that they should make sure that I drank milk, fatten me up, strengthen me up. And the reason, and I hated milk, but the reason he thought so, my apologies to the dairy industry. The reason I thought so was because during the Depression, Mayor LaGuardia used to send milk trucks out to feed the hungry kids. So Jonathan, Rick, and Seth were left with instructions. Get them to drink some milk. Do you remember this, John?
Vaguely.
Okay. You'll love it.
I take no.
Now, you have to understand. To me, milk was something that came out of a place with a cow, and people just shouldn't be ingesting this. And I just didn't like milk. But they would put a glass in front of me, and they used all their diplomatic skills. They said, "Drink it." I was an equally diplomatic, 8-year-old, and I said, "No."
No.
So I made a break for it, and they had me pinned down on the yard outside. 3 older brothers and a gallon of milk. And they were, pouring it over my face. And
I don't remember this at all.
A likely story.
So, I had an earful of milk because I kept, no. So obviously it just wasn't working, even though they were pinning down my arms and legs. So they got our 2 dogs involved. Etu, Holly, and Caleb. They lifted up my shirt. They smeared honey on my chest and my stomach. Is this ringing a bell now, Johnny?
Brothers.
No, not at all.
Oh my God.
Not a thing.
And of course, the dogs' coarse tongues, when they were licking, it tickled so badly that I was laughing hysterically. And as I laughed, down went the milk. So I nearly broke 3 ribs and I almost drowned. But by the end of this process, that gallon jug of milk was empty.
Sounds kind of like George Bush Jr.'s style of making people drink milk.
Right. It's the early version of waterboarding.
Oh, that's
Waterboarding
highly
joke?
insulting.
Swami. Swami's quiet, but when
That
he
was cutting,
adds
Swami.
something,
That
it's
was
got
really
fun.
cutting.
This is why we love him.
Nicely done.
It's a zinger.
You blocked this out?
Pardon? Nah, I'm just listening to you guys. I got a passion project that I'm trying to push as well. Just to let you guys know if you ever want to invest in something. What I want to do, it's something that's really close to my heart, and I've been thinking about it for 5-6 years. And what I want to do is I want to go across America, and I want to go to every single massage parlor I can find and try to find the best hand jobs I can. I want to call it Hands Across America. If you have some money you want to bring it in, we can go off the ground right away. Come on, fellas. We're 3 Jews.
Well, I'm just thinking that since there's a job involved, maybe you can apply for a work grant.
All right.
Yeah, work grant.
There you go.
Now, see, it's interesting because Swami is from Montreal. He lives in Montreal, and I'm kind of surprised you'd want to do that across America. I got to be honest.
Americans got the best.
Canada is North America.
I don't know. We got.
I'm sorry, U.S. versus
the
Canada.
Great
Sorry.
Canadian
Great.
strip off that was pretty good.
What was that, John?
The Great Canadian strip off,
Yeah. I like Hands Across America. It's got more.
or hand jobs across America. Yeah.
Hand jobs across America. Huh, that's got a ring to it.
Isn't there a song like that?
If there isn't,
Paul
there should be.
McCartney, hand jobs across America.
It's beautiful.
God,
Hey, I
know.
didn't start
I'm
this.
starting to feel like my dad.
I was thinking White Buffalo, but you already got the name, so I couldn't.
Do you have criteria for best versus worst?
You're really going to dig into this, aren't you?
I'm kicking my heels in. Yeah.
This is what you get for stealing the flip
The flip flop, right?
Yep, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. How do we dig ourselves out of that? Okay, so.
No, it's your show. You figure it out.
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about, social and spiritual activities with healing
Right.
practices and
Directly right to the
I
hand
can't
job.
think of anything much more healing than Swami.
It's life affirming.
They have said that orgasming is good for COVID because it brings up the immune system or something like that. So they're saying.
I am not going to make the comments that come to mind.
I'm feeling healthier already.
Yeah, me too. Ah, wow.
Twice a day, I feel pretty healthy. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, sticky, but good.
Yeah. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-da.
Right,
So,
my wife
Well,
is
obviously, this is a real family show.
hey, I was going to ask you, Ethan. I know you worked with the Heckler Kane guys on the
Well, that's how we
Vampire series.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Right, exactly. That was kind of the very beginning of it. Is that we met through that, but then you did that a little bit later on. I think was that after? Yeah, that was after Roshi that you did that, right? The Vampire series.
Yeah, that was after filming of Roshi.
You know what?
Hey, guys.
We
Hang
have
on.
a special guest that we're going to be bringing up here right now that we're very excited about.
Yeah, someone who is a part of Eyes of the Roshi.
That's right. It's Mr. Eric Roberts.
What?
You guys,
Eric,
Best of the best.
how the hell are you?
great. Thanks for asking.
Great to see you, Eric, and thanks so much for coming on. We're obviously very big fans of yours, and we got an
Thank you.
opportunity to meet you through the Martin brothers, and I know that you have a pretty cool history with them.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun together. Thanks for having me, though. I appreciate this. I've never done this before. This is a first for me.
Oh, wow. Well, we are so glad that you're choosing to do it with us. Thank you.
I'm glad to be your first, Eric.
So good for us.
Eric,
Yeah.
first, how's Eliza? How are the squirrels and how are the cats?
Everybody is alive and well and happy and bored.
Yeah.
Stir crazy. So I heard something about squirrels and cats. I need a little more clarification here.
We have a squirrel sanctuary on our property, and years ago we found a hurt squirrel. Took it to the ASPCA. They brought it back. Said you have trees, and now they bring all the hurt squirrels here. So over the years, now we have many dozens of squirrels that have ears, that have tails, that all kinds of body parts, but they eat our hands, and they're our friends, and they love us, and they understand my wife's every syllable. It's fascinating.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's like a Dr. Doolittle scenario.
Sort of, yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah. Well, we're also big fans of your wife, and we were just talking about this earlier today about her role in Animal House. I think it's one of my favorite roles. I swear to
Absolutely. I know, it's perfection.
it is wonderful. But let's talk about what you're up to these days, Eric. I know that obviously not a lot of people, a lot of actors and people just in the entertainment industry right now are not working because of what's going on. But is there anything that you're excited about getting started, or that you just finished before all this happened?
I've got all kinds of stuff in the works. My wife had to cancel. She's also my manager. She had to cancel 21 projects. Bang!
Whoa.
Yeah, we were all booked up. Had to cancel everything. So we're standing by, and we're. I'm like getting lots of kisses, and we're just standing by.
Well, that's great, because I know Eliza likes to have you traveling and working a lot. How is this situation working out?
Eliza likes to have me traveling.
Well, you're always on the road working. You're happy working.
I am. And all these years I thought it was my choice. Now I know it's hers. Thank you.
Listen, that's just what she said.
Yeah. Oh, I get it totally. Now, the wife and I just have a great life together, and we just have fun. And she's funny. Thank God for funny. And she's funny. And so we have a good life.
That's great.
Hey, I've got to pop off here in a second because I've got to go. I've got a reunion of my high school theater troupe.
Oh, what fun.
But I want to say to Eric, when we finished our first scene together on Roshi, you turned to me and you said, "You're going to be very proud of this scene." And I think that was probably the highest compliment I have ever received in my 45-year career. So I want to thank you for that, and for being as generous and talented as you are, because you made me look really good.
Thank you so much. When you saw the scene, were you proud of it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's up online. I put it on my YouTube channel because very proud. But anyways, thank you guys. It's been great. Eric, good seeing you. Farewell.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Robert. Always a pleasure having the Marten brothers up, and Ethan's still here. So, I know that when you were working with the Marten brothers, that I think it was just one of them that you had most of the scenes with him. Wasn't that Robert? That I think all the scenes that you were in was with Robert.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So, what's it like working with a bunch of brothers that are completely out of their minds on a set like that?
That's all very charming and all this and all very haha. But you know what? These guys are serious filmmakers, and they're like very serious guys on a set. And we do joke around, we have fun. But when the camera rolls, we're kind of serious. And when we're not doing well, we say, "Oh, cut! That's not good, guys. We need to do that again." And we do. And it may not look it, but we do. And we just like each other, and we have fun. And I dig the brothers. And I'm an old guy now, and I travel the world, and I get to work almost every day I want to. It's such a pleasure. And these guys, I just love working with.
It was mutual.
It's great.
You were a prince, very generous. And, it's funny, Eric, you hear a lot about actors before you meet them, especially of your stature. And you were just so generous and kind and giving as an actor. And it was great to do scene work with you.
Well, thank you so much. But we're in a vocation that makes it easy to be giving and sweet and loving and understanding and patient. It's like set up that if you have those qualities, it asks for those things. And so it's like set up to be a good guy if you're decent at all. And if you're not, it's set up to expose you very quickly. because that kind of business. But when people are doing this because they want to be doing this, not for fame or fortune, but this, it's always fun, dude.
Yeah, and I have to say that it's obviously apparent how much you enjoy your work, Eric, because we were before you were on the show, we were big fans of the TV show Suits. Yes,
yeah.
And we had no idea that you were going to be doing this, pretty sizable role in on the series. And what they wrote for you and how you played that role was, I mean, for TV, was some of the best TV I think I've seen in decades. I mean, it was incredible.
Just intense.
Yeah.
I will agree with you. Some of the hardest TV to do I've ever done, because they do rewrites. Okay, you have a rewrite, but their rewrites are they rewrite whole 3-page monologues. Okay, redone. Here you go, and you're going to shoot it in 5 minutes. Okay, great. What fun this is! And it's really hard. But the group is so good and the group is so likable that it's a pleasure every second to be there.
Oh, that's incredible, because it just showed on the level of intensity of that role. You've played heavies in a lot of movies, but seeing it in that type of style where he was the most likable bad guy, it was crazy.
Thank you. Well, bad guys don't ever think they're bad guys. So when you're playing the bad guy, students out there, don't play bad, play guy.
As a Gen Xer on the panel, I got to say my favorite movie. I know everyone's gonna laugh, but it was Best of the Best when I was a kid.
That's a fun movie. That is a really feel good movie. Part 1 is a good movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Part 1, and one of my favorite quotes is you saying, "I'm probably one of my 3 biggest fans."
Thanks, dude.
Which is me in a nutshell.
One of your, like I'm telling you what your best performances are. I'll never get over seeing you in Star 80, but also Raggedy Man, which is the first time I saw you.
Sorry, I have to say that was a very difficult performance, very hard to play, and I played it very well. But I played it well because I had a great leader. I had Bob Fosse. Bob Fosse, you could make up a question. He would have a legitimate answer for you. He was incredible. He was a true leader for an artist. And when you're an actor and you have that kind of director, you're forever spoiled, because he is your mother. He's your best friend. He's your wife. He's your brother. He's everything a person can be, except your lover. He's everything a person can be to you emotionally. And he leads you down this pathway that, unfortunately, I was playing somebody who was a little imbalanced. So everybody saw me as imbalanced, but I was just acting, so it put a big dent in my career. And that from that movie on, if you want somebody crazy, call Eric. And so
you embody every role you play.
What? I'm sorry.
You embody every role that you play.
Oh, thank you, dude.
If you played a circus clown, you'd get 100 roles for circus clowns because you put yourself into it so much. That's what people would think you were.
Well, that's what Hollywood does too. Yeah.
And that's got to be the difficult part, especially, you just had mentioned a few moments ago that you had to kind of either postpone or cancel 21 projects. How do you go through the selection process to determine what is the kind of role that you want to do next? What is your next challenge? What is that thought process like?
Over the years, it's been a big evolution. From 1976 to 1988, it was just the role, just the character, blah, 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 just that. And if it's great, I'll go do it. And it was very painful sometimes. And then it became, who are the people doing it? And then over the years, and then with the change from film to HD, we do so many films now so quickly that it became, where are we shooting? What am I wearing? Really? I'll do that. and it just got to be seeing the role for free, having fun, and making people happy. And then my wife got onto this wonderful thing as my manager. She said, you know what? It's time to start giving back. I said, what are we talking about? She goes, well, there's a lot of young filmmakers who want to work with you, but they don't have any money and they don't have any clout, and I'm going to give you to them. And so about, I don't know, once or twice a month, I do a film for absolute, per diem, and I go make a movie for a student filmmaker, and that's my wife's idea, and I like it.
What an incredible way to give back. I mean, to really, as you were saying, work with people and teach them and even learn from them.
Well, that's my wife. My wife is a mortal saint, and I just follow her example.
By the way, I loved your daughter in the. God, I can't remember the name. It was a movie I watched recently. I was talking to Juliet about it because we're big horror fans. And what was it? It's one with like the liberals versus the right wingers, and she played.
The Hunt, is that
it?
it?
The Hunt. Yeah, The Hunt. Is
smart, but she fucking killed it in like the 30 seconds. Like, and me and my wife were watching, like, oh shit, they killed her really quick, but it was still awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, coming from a family like you do, and doing what you've done with your career. I mean, just having that really early as a young actor and having a bunch of great movies that have come out, and then continuing your career to where you continue to do this great work and then give back. That's pretty incredible.
Absolutely.
Dude, thank you.
It's amazing.
Anybody watch American Horror Show?
Oh, yes.
Isn't that a great show? Isn't that fun to watch?
I love it. I love the interlaid stories between everything, how they all tie together in weird little ways. It's fascinating, the writing.
Yeah, it's really
Eric, what are you watching?
What am I watching? You know what? I'm a news junkie, but since we have been trapped in the house, I don't know the names of what are the names of stuff that you had me watch?
You love Boston Legal.
Oh, Boston Legal. We watched last night forever. Yeah.
Have you seen Rectify yet?
That guy's an incredible actor. Oh my God.
That's
Spader. James Spader.
James Spader.
My God, he's something. Oh, I love watching him.
Yeah, he's a chameleon. I feel like he can kind of slip into anything, and you're always surprised by what he does.
His best role still when he was on Seinfeld.
Yeah. Also, I've gotten hip, way after the fact, to Friends. I never watched Friends when it was a show. I'm watching now in syndication. That show is good every week. Those actors were good every word they said. Oh my God, that show's a miracle.
It's hard to do an ensemble cast like that and be successful. They pulled it off.
That's how I feel about Sex and the City.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that really still stands up as great storytelling and interesting character development.
My wife would agree with you. She loves that show.
Now, Eric, I know that you've kind of slipped in and out of comedic roles, but have you ever thought about, at least in the future, doing a pure comedy?
I would love to do a pure comedy. I just need somebody to write comedy for me because I'm not inherently funny. And also, I'm always asked to go talk to the troops. I'm always, come talk to the troops, but I only want to go when I have 5 minutes of comedy. Now, every time I paths with somebody who I find funny, I say, write me 5 minutes of comedy. And they say, sure. And I'll never see them again. So anybody out there who wants to write me 5 minutes of comedy that I can take to the troops, I will give you credit and take it to the troops.
You're getting a lot of love in the chat for Dark Knight. Everyone's talking about Dark Knight in the chat.
Well, Dark Knight is one of the most beautiful visual meals you'll ever eat.
Yeah.
It's so good looking, that movie.
Stylistically, we're from Chicago, so having it, set in the streets of Chicago, at least some of it
feels familiar.
It feels very familiar to us, but just that the lighting, and I love the editing in that movie is incredible. How they put that together.
We tore Chicago up, dude. Oh man, we were hard on that town with that movie, man. We tore that city up.
Yeah, you did, but it was a perfect end result. So we absolutely adore the movie.
Thank you, man. I love being in that movie.
Is there any discussion of doing like kind of a continuation of your part of that storyline? Because I think that you had a lot to offer that kind of role in that universe. Expanding out that role, I think, would be a great movie.
I think it's a great idea. Call Chris Nolan, get on the internet and blah, 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 Eric Roberts, Chris Nolan, and see what he wants to go do.
But is Chris Nolan doing the new Batman?
Chris, right after this.
He owns that whole thing as far as I'm concerned. He like brought it back into really class, wonderful, beautiful film stuff. You know, he made it sing.
I know it's the guy from Twilight now. That's Robert Pattinson's going to be playing Batman now. I don't see it. I kind of thought that they threw Ben Affleck under the bus because I thought he played a really cool Batman because it was like the Batman that you remember from comic books being more bulky, more of a football style player body instead of like a really skinny guy. And I don't see Pat Robertson being able to play him well. Maybe acting, but like he's got my body, and I'm just like I don't see how I'm going to be kicking everyone's ass.
Well, let's give everybody a chance because John Voight in Runaway Train, he weighed what I weigh now. I'm way underweight. I probably weigh 165 right now, and he probably weighed 165, 170, and he's 6'2". He wore a whole bodysuit for Runaway Train. He looks like a monster, and he's not, dude. He's a skinny guy.
It's just because even though Batman versus Superman was not a good movie, the fight scene where Batman is in the factory house, I thought that was one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in a movie where he just with everybody, and it just came off so realistic. That was like the one saving grace of that entire movie I found, and it was cool to see a Batman that looked like he could just tear people.
I'm with you totally. Yeah. Although when I first heard that Ben Affleck was going to be Batman, I was like kind of disappointed. I am a Ben Affleck fan though, but I didn't see him as Batman. I didn't mind him. I'm one of the guys who was like, hey, not bad. But
yeah, unfortunately,
everybody was so mean to him that I think that's also why I kind of liked him a little more because I didn't see anything that.
I don't think it was him particularly that people didn't like, or Superman, or any of the cast. I think it was the direction of the movie because, and I don't even want to blame the actors or the directors or anybody, but I think it was the studio that kind of fucked things up for the DC franchise more than anybody else. I think it was Warner Brothers that kind of ruined what could have been a good franchise because they were all over the place.
Let's face it, the fans are always really rough on any comic book movie. They're really brutal about it. It's really hard to make one and keep everyone happy. There's only been a few of them that have done that, and that's The Dark Knight is one of them. And that's the hardest thing in the world to do.
Because they found a nice line of keeping the movie serious and dark, but without going over the top. And because the fans are weird. I'm a Marvel guy. I'm not really a DC guy, but I love the Batman films, like all of them. But they always have a hard time trying to bring the Adam West campiness with the darkness combined together. And I think there's some fans that want campiness, and there's other fans that want the darkness. And I think directors have a hard time trying to bring those two worlds together to make everybody happy. So it either ends up becoming really just silly and stupid and campy, or over the top dark. Which I find that going dark is fine. It's when it goes too campy that, like, if you think of
it's hard then.
Yeah, Val Kilmer when he did it. Again, sorry for talking about Batman. I know.
It's a huge thing in the movie industry. I mean, Batman was like the second coming every time they made one. Who's going to play it? Who's the director? Who shot it? It was always a big deal. And when it came out, that's why when it was bad, it was a huge disappointment, like George Clooney's. Or when it was good, it was wow, Dark Knight, oh my God, it's great, and we just heralded it because it's so. We all can't wait to see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I wanted to jump backward a little. You were talking about Bob Fosse earlier, and I was just curious. As a film director, do you think he brought some of his choreography experience to your performance?
If you want,
his approach would be a little different than most directors.
Bob Fosse's work always had a pulse. Every scene has a pulse to it. All of Fosse's work, and from Cabaret, all that jazz, Star 80, they all have, and also Lenny, they all have pulses to them. They pulse. All those movies do, and that's just how he was alive, and he was a genius. And it's overused and abused word, so everybody kind of throws it out there. But he was a genius, and once you're around those guys, you realize two things: that you're not one, and that they're really, really unusual. Wow, they're like finding your white tigers. They are hard to find, dude. And when you find them, you go, oh my God, that's one of those people. Oh my God, I'm not one of those. Wow, I'm gonna follow this guy. And it's exciting.
So,
And,
what experience as an actor taught you the most that you used in approaching roles thereafter? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. He instilled in me more. I have a basic root that's a very brave, but I'm also a little silly and a little reckless and a little foolish and a little childish. And he wasn't. He was very reckless in a lot of ways, but he was so brave. So why should we do it? Because we can. And he was like that. And he gave me the most personal direction. I told this before to the press, but he gave me the most personal direction I ever got from a director one day. We're doing a scene. I don't know the scene ended up in the movie. I'm in my underwear and I have a guitar and I'm playing a song and I messed up the song and I said cut. But you don't say cut on a Fosse set unless you're Fosse. So he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I messed up. He goes, you messed up? What do you mean you messed up? Come here. And he walks across the soundstage, Zoetrope. It's a big old soundstage. And he walks across it. Come here. So I paddle after him, barefoot on my underwear. What's up, dude? He goes, look at me. I said, I'm looking at you. Look at me. I said, I'm looking at you. What's up? And we're this far away. He goes, you're playing me if I weren't successful. Do you understand? And he started walking back to the set. I started looking how he walked, and I played him physically from that point on. And we shot all the stuff in Vancouver. We shot all that stuff. So I had shot maybe 15% of my character before he told me that. And when he told me that, because we've been together for 3 months, before we shot anything, just doing research together. And they're together for the 6 months of the shoot. And so I knew him very well, and I liked him very much. And I listened to him. I did what he told me.
So at that point forward in your career, what would you say was the bravest acting choice you've made?
I'm told by my peeps, that's my last question, because I have a Zoom call I have to get on for business. What's the question one more time?
What was the bravest acting choice you have made, and why?
The monologue when I lose my thumb in the Pope of Greenwich Village. It was done in 2 takes, and I was ready to do it, and I just did it, and it was recklessly brave of me, and I'm very proud of it.
It turns how iconic is that?
Exactly. I mean, what a pivotal move to make and have it be so remembered.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Eric, I know that you have to take off,
Yes.
and thank you for coming on up here and using us as your training wheels for doing lives. That is awesome.
Excellent.
I hope you do a whole bunch more of them.
Say hello to Eliza for me and tell her she owes me.
Thank you. Peace out, guys.
Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That was fun.
That was a treat.
That's something that doesn't happen every day,
Right?
huh?
That was
Well,
very awesome.
I have to think if Lindsay's still in the chat, she had a lot to do with it, as of course, as well as Ethan had a lot to do with it. But of having Eric, come on up here is, it's pretty fantastic.
That was awesome.
It was Eliza who had most to do with it, I'm sure.
Yes, Eliza, thank you so much. If you're still listening,
Yeah, we
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. And I will forever in my grave say that I love you in
Brunella.
as Brunella. I knew it's like Brunella, but that role just makes me happy every time I see it. It just does.
I know, you get so tickled.
Animal House is one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I'm fanboying over her a little bit,
It's all right. It's all right. Have at it.
Well, and Ethan, you've been gracious enough to come up here as well,
Yes.
as well as your brother Jonathan. That was very cool of him to join us and tell all those cool family stories. And excited about White Buffalo. we're gonna have to get you back up, or find an outlet of some sort if I'm not doing this show, to get White Buffalo out there.
Yeah, it'll be complete about the same time as the book, so we'll come on and just have a smorgasbord.
Awesome,
Love it.
Awesome. And Swami, you're awesome as always. You brought the funny right in the middle of the.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that
This
coming.
is why we love you.
Thanks, brother.
No problem.
Thanks. And thanks to everyone in the chat. I mean, there's so many great people that were hanging out. I hope people hung out long enough to see Eric. And love you guys. Thanks for watching. And we'll be back next Saturday at 6 o'clock Eastern.
Wow,
Take care.
how busy you were.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Peace out.
See you, Ethan.
Take care, Dave. Juliet.
As always, thank you.
Be good.